Hello, travel friends. Welcome back. In this episode, we are going to talk about the biggest surprises on our trip to Venice, Italy in 2021. This was my first time in Italy. It was Barb's fourth time. Venice was our first stop. Italy, right? I was expecting, as a food traveler, I was expecting magic. And even though a lot of YouTubers who go to Venice and they're like raving about the food, I did not find the food that great. And that was a huge, huge surprise to me. I did learn, though, that basically a lot of the different cities and different regions in Italy have regional food that is different from other parts. In Venice, the most unique food I thought was cicchetti.
It's like bruschetta. They're just little pieces of bread, kind of like an appetizer that you would do for happy hour.
It was not that great, and we went and we ate a lot, and we tried to make it great. We went to the places that were supposedly great, and it was just not magical. So again, I'm not going to harp too much on that, but it was a major surprise.
Venice is not a foodie location compared to other spots in Italy.
Right.
So keep that in mind. That might surprise you. The gelato was good.
Right, gelato was good. Wine was good.
Yeah, gelato, wine, spritzes.
The ambience was great. The vibe was great. Everything was great. Food itself, compared to other parts of Italy and compared to all the other amazing, amazing Italian food that we had, I felt Venice was surprisingly disappointing.
So the next surprise were the canals.
Right. What do you want to say about them?
So the way that Venice comes off with the canals, it feels really old. Every turn is a new canal. There's hundreds of bridges. A lot of times when I thought of Venice, I thought you'd have to go around in a boat. I thought it would be very hard to walk, but it's an island of bridges. So you can actually walk everywhere, and we really did do that. It has a very different vibe than other canal cities like Amsterdam. Amsterdam feels very modern and
Right.
updated. They also have like a lot of cars and bicycles. Venice, it is primarily boats and then pedestrians. That was really great. You could walk everywhere. It would take time, but it's not so large that you can't just walk everywhere.
If you're talking about like a city full of canals, I think Amsterdam is the first thing that pops into your mind as a comparison. And I felt that Venice had a much different vibe. And that surprised me. We've been in lots of areas with canals. and I would say that, yeah, Venice had a very unique feel and it had a vibe that was very unique. And I really enjoyed that.
I think the thing that you liked most was being able to just walk by a body of water. How did that make you feel, Jimmy?
It was good. It was good. Walking along water or being around water, eating, drinking, strolling along water. There's a very good calming feeling about that. It's just unavoidable in Venice, right? Like there's just so many bodies of water around you, and it's a very good vibe. The ridiculous abundance of
Water.
of canals and water. It's very, very unique, and it was a really, really good, surprise. Okay, the next big surprise. I think overall it's a good surprise. Gondolas. The gondola people. What do you call them?
Gondoliers?
Gondoliers, right? You'll often find them along the canals or on the
Well,
streets.
there's gondola stations, so they are marked with what actually looks like a barber shop pole, but they're different colors. I think they're red, some are blue, but
Right.
that is a gondola station, and it also has like the prices and everything.
They're at those stations and they would, ask people who walk by for gondola rides. And I would say that if I didn't know that all the prices are fixed, all the gondola prices, all the gondoliers, they have to agree to a certain price that they charge. But there is a set price throughout the city of Venice for riding gondolas. If I did not know that the prices were fixed, it could come off a little shady, right? Like especially if you've been to other countries where people are trying to invite you into their shops or invite you into their stall and try to sell you something, right? Like it's that kind of sense. But just know that even if it might come off a little bit sketch or a little bit, something
Scammy.
scammy, just know that all the prices are totally the same. So they're not out there to scam you or
They're out to show you a different side of Venice, and they'll sing. I mean, it's very unique. Drive around, or sorry,
see Venice.
float around and see Venice rather than like taking the water taxis. It is an occupation. It's a very Venetian thing to do. So if you have the time and the budget to do it, we do recommend taking advantage of it. So the food was surprising. The canals were very surprising.
Do we have more? Do we have one more thing?
Oh, crowds. Okay, yeah.
So the next surprising thing were crowds. You know, we both have traveled quite a bit, and we've been in very crowded cities, right? We've been in like during tourist season, right? So, and we're used to like waiting in lines for tons of stuff. But I think the difference with Venice is that because the way the city is, with the canals, with the narrow side streets or the walking paths, a big crowd is going to feel much more
Much larger than it really is.
much larger, probably much more invasive to your personal space. The vibe could be off the sounds, the noise pollution of larger, if it were more crowded, that would be something I would say is very unique to Venice. If you've traveled to other parts of Europe, like medieval castles or medieval cities that were built like fortresses or around castles, and you've been in those, narrow alleyways, you can imagine that if that were really crowded, that your experience would be quite a bit different.
It is because people come in for day trips. So minimum spend 2 nights there. So that would give you about 3 days, or at least, a cumulative 2 days, depending on when you arrive. But it gives you the opportunity to get up early and stay up late, because a lot of the tourists leave or come in that like 8 to 5 range. So you still have time to explore without the crowds, and also just be aware of what you want to explore. If you want to go to San Marco Square, maybe save that for an evening and then get up in the morning really early to be first in line for the Basilica. And during those peak tourist times, take one of the free guided tours of the other areas in Venice. I mean, there's like the university area. There's a lot of unique spots overall throughout Venice that you can take advantage of that still won't be as crowded, because a lot of the tourists are there to check 5 or 6 things off and then leave. So you're missing other magical spots within Venice.
I think that the way Venice is structured, crowds make a much bigger difference in Venice than compared to other cities. So I think that if you're going to be timely with trying to avoid crowds anywhere, like Venice is it, right? Yeah, you want to avoid crowds there so much, because I really impacts your experience. It impacts like how long it takes you to get anywhere or to get into anywhere. So you really want to avoid the crowds as much as you can. And the way to do that, I don't know if like waking up that early, because sometimes like things aren't open yet. So you want to like get there early to wait in line. But if you're able to spend a night or 2 nights in Venice, I think that you will not regret that.
Right.
I think you'll get a really good experience if you're able to stay there in the evening, watching the sunset, eating, drinking along the canals or just outside. I think it would be a very good worthwhile experience. Okay, I think that's it. I think we talked a ton about that. All right.
So surprises were food, the canals, the gondolas, and last but not least, crowds.
Yeah. All right.
Happy travels.